Man, can we rewind the clocks back to Saturday night? I'm back in the office, back doing what I do best, and that is review Monday Night Raw. Another disappointing Monday Night Raw, but Raw nonetheless. Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch face to face tonight on Raw. What was different? What was better? And where WWE is going with all this Sasha Banks heel turn before Clash of Champions. We also got the King of the Ring tournament tonight. Baron Corbin gave us the best match of his entire life tonight against Cedric Alexander. But WWE found some way to mess up one of the most simplest concepts in all of pro wrestling. A tournament! How could you? And why? Also, Bray Wyatt, the Firefly Funhouse, was back tonight, and WWE gave you the inevitability of Bray Wyatt becoming the WWE Universal Champion. Why I think it's going to happen and why I think it absolutely renders everything before it completely useless. And Bayley, oh, Bayley! Finally Bayley with some charisma. Finally Bayley turns to the dark side, and you don't know how great Bayley is going to be now that she's aligned with heel Sasha Banks. All this plus so much more right here from Monday Night Raw on Off the Script. Is this what you want? This fucking foliage? Is this what you want? Mr. Dips? Is this what you want? Me standing in front of EC3 buying designer coats? Is this what you want? Me sitting in some hipster hotel in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, fluffing pillows? Is this what you want? I don't believe this. This graffiti art, the hotels, avocado toast. All I want is a fucking Guinness. An ice cold Guinness. What the hell does that mean? Oh, this is what you wanted. This is your Monday Night Raw review right here on Off the Script. What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is Monday Night Raw for your Labor Day 2019, September 2nd, 2019. I don't believe it's September, man, but I'm loving all the pumpkin spice that's coming my way. Really. If you guys have not gotten yourself to Starbucks, I stand by this, man. I swear to God, I ordered one, and the lady looked at me, and she's like, yeah, it's good, right? And I'm like, absolutely. This is delicious. Why didn't we think of this? We'd be multimillionaires at this point. Dude, the pumpkin spice cold brew, the pumpkin cream cold brew from Starbucks. You're going to see it on the billboard. As soon as you walk up to the cashier, you're going to see it on the billboard. I swear to you on everything that I own, if you enjoy pumpkin, you're going to go to Starbucks and you're going to order yourself a Venti. You're going to order yourself a Venti pumpkin cream cold brew with extra pumpkin cream. Believe me, you have my word. I'm JD, guys. Thank you so very much. We're going to go over everything on Monday Night Raw. I could have used a couple of them during this show tonight for sure. But this is Monday Night Raw right here on Off the Script. We are back from Chicago. I am re-energized, being that I did have 2 cups of coffee during Monday Night Raw. And I took a nap before Monday Night Raw. So I'm good to go, man. I am good to go. We're going to go over everything that happened tonight. Again, I'm back from Chicago. And it was a great time. I had a fantastic time at StarCast. I had a fantastic time meeting all of you guys out there who came up to me, took a picture with me, shook my hand, called me a goon. I had an unbelievable time, man. I felt like I was in dreamland, to be honest with you. Chris Van Vliet hit me up before StarCast. He hit me up when we got to the hotel and we set time apart to, just sit down together. He was a very busy individual all week, and rightfully so, with everything that's going on with All Elite Wrestling right now. I was busy doing the podcast. I was running back and forth. I wanted to catch all the StarCast events. And he sat me down for 40 minutes, and we went over just me. He wanted to sit me down, and he actually wanted to have an in-depth interview about how I got started, how Off the Script got started, and how I am now doing this full-time. And what my inspiration was, how it all got started, man. It was unbelievable. I still can't believe he actually did it. I can't believe we did it. I can't believe I was even asked by someone like that to do it, man. I can't wait for you guys to see it. And yes, there is wrestling talk in there. There is current product talk in there. And it's just a great sit down, man. I can't wait for him to unveil that in the coming weeks. And I want to thank him for just being so awesome. And he's definitely one of the nicest guys, one of the most humble guys that you could possibly come across in this community, man. I wish him absolutely nothing but the best, and I can't wait to see what he does on TNT for All Elite Wrestling. Had a great time meeting you guys, man. Thank you guys so much for the positivity from the All Out review. My buddy Jesse sat down with me. That is the notorious Jesse. We sat down, and you guys, so many of you said it was probably the best review of the entire year, man. I want to see if I can come up with a way to get Jesse, and I know he's listening. I want to get him on the channel, hopefully on a weekly basis where we could just double review AEW on TNT. I think that would be great for everybody. And I know I've stated in the past that I've not wanted to work with anybody, but this is my second time in Chicago doing this. He was there for All In. He was there for All Out. He's going to be there for every All Out that happens from this point on. And he's someone that I trust, and I think it would be great. I think you guys would enjoy that. So let me know what you guys think about that. I'm going to come up with some ways to maybe get him on the show every single week when AEW goes live on TNT. But thank you guys so much for all your kind words on that as well. I didn't get enough content up during the weekend that I would have liked because I was either drunk, I was tired, or I had something to do. But I'm glad to be back home, man. I'm glad that we got a 3-hour, so surprisingly, these words are coming out of my mouth, a 3-hour Monday Night Raw where I could just dive into and just be me in the comfort of my own office. So let's get into it, man. Follow me on social media, at JD from NY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Thank you to everybody that came over and found me via the All Out review. It was awesome. And if you guys want to check out anything that I uploaded during the All Out weekend, you guys can certainly do that. I will make it easy for you. Links will be down in the comment section below. I'm going to pin it at the very top. Make sure you guys check out my sponsor for tonight, man. You guys know the deal. Audible. audibletrial.com/offthescript. 30 days free of Audible service. And as a thank you for using our unique link, you're going to get 30 days and one free audiobook of your choice. That is an unbelievable deal. It's a great way to support the show. Audible's been a fine friend of the podcast for over 3 years now. And if you guys want something for free just for listening to my thoughts on Monday Night Raw, Audible is for you, man. audibletrial.com/offthescript. Oh, man. I crack myself up, man. Monday Night Raw, I'm literally here sitting, going over exactly what I'm going to say to open this podcast. Monday Night Raw opened up with a WWE Universal Championship contract signing. Now, usually, with these WWE contract signings, they end in one of two ways. One, the participants who are taking part in said contract signing, they get so worked up that they end up brawling, and one of them ends up going through a table. Or option B, we get somebody interrupting the contract signing, and an impromptu match is made that means absolutely nothing to anybody watching the show. Which one of these happened tonight, folks? Mr. Ray Combs, I take the contract not being signed and someone interfering, prompting an impromptu tag team match that means absolutely nothing to the overall show that is Monday Night Raw and offers no excitement. Nobody cares. Number one answer. Ding, 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 ding. Remember Ray Combs? Family Feud. Awesome. I might be too old. I might be telling everybody how old I actually am by remembering Ray Combs as the host of Family Feud. Or you might be too young, you don't even know who the fuck Ray Combs is. I don't know, man. Either way, these contract signings do nothing. So not only did we get a contract signing tonight in which the contract wasn't signed, we're getting it again because WWE couldn't sell out Madison Square Garden. Michael Cole couldn't get the job done by overseeing this thing. So WWE had to bring in Stone Cold, Steve Austin, which we'll go over in a second. So Michael Cole was in the ring. Talked about Sept and Braun defending the Raw Tag Team titles, which is still a mystery to me. You actually have legit teams on this roster, none of which are actually getting any opportunity at the Tag Team Championships. He asked, how can they coexist as a team? But the question is, how can any of us exist on a Monday Night Raw by being fed the same garbage every single week? Seth says he knows that they have the ability to beat Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. And his intentions are to walk in as double champ, burn it down, and walk out as double champ. Man, Rollins gets you so excited. I can't wait to watch him wrestle twice in one night, said nobody ever. Now, he can't speak for Braun Strowman, but those are his intentions. Braun says it will be awkward when his tag team championship partner beats him to become the Universal Champion. Seth said that would be terribly awkward. Everything that comes out of Rollins' mouth is terribly awkward. Seth said to win the Universal title, he slayed the Beast, which unfortunately is something you couldn't do. Ooh. Oh my God, Rollins. Oh, Strowman is trembling in fear from that one-liner. Seth said to keep his title going, to slay a monster, he is going to do exactly that at Clash of Champions. Now, reverting back to that he slayed a beast in Brock Lesnar. I did something that you couldn't do. You know what? I don't know if I find that to be so much of an insult, Mr. Rollins, champ, if you're listening to me, because Braun Strowman is in pretty decent company in that situation. CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Finn Balor, AJ Styles. Come on. Did any of those guys beat Brock Lesnar? The answer is no. So if Braun Strowman really wants to think about this one, how much of an insult was that exactly from our champion of the universe? I wouldn't be losing sleep over it, Mr. Strowman. As Braun was about to sign the contract, out comes AJ Styles, and this is where the entire segment mocks you ridiculously. And by mocking, I mean mocking you, treating you like you're a child, like an idiot. Cole says, whoa, you got no business being out here. Fans are chanting for AJ Styles. They're chanting more for AJ than they were for our champion, Rollins. Styles didn't acknowledge the crowd because heels don't acknowledge the positivity being thrown at them. Styles says it's adorable that they're going to see the tag team champions fight each other later. He asks why Braun gets the title match. He asks, legitimately, why is Braun Strowman getting a Universal Championship match at Clash of Champions? Because he looked at the Universal Championship? Is that why? Folks, AJ Styles legitimately said this in his promo tonight. Why is Braun Strowman getting a Universal Championship title match at Clash of Champions? ... Is it because he simply looked at the championship? Is that why? That is mocking you in plain sight. They are telling you exactly what they do every single week that we complain about. They're telling you their mistakes. And they're telling you that they legitimately don't give a shit. Yeah, we're fucking up, but we're not going to do anything to rectify it. And then in the next segment, immediately following this, they set up a United States Championship match at Clash of Champions and made AJ Styles look like a complete fool, which I'll get to in a second. Is that why So he said by default the U.S. champion should be the first in line at the Universal Championship. He then asked, who am I going to defend my United States Championship match title against? Who am I going to defend my United States Championship against at Clash of Champions? So he told Gallows and Anderson to not look at his championship because apparently in WWE, that's how you get an opportunity now. Either that or just lose every fucking match that you're in and then you'll be number one contender because things work in the bizarro way in WWE where losses matter and wins don't. People then mocking you in plain sight. They legitimately mocked every single viewer watching at home and every single paying patron in that audience in Baltimore tonight. They mocked you. They mocked you in plain sight. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. This is WWE throwing all of their mistakes back in your face, laughing at it, and trying to pawn it off as cool in a heel promo with AJ Styles. That is absolutely the lamest shit I've ever seen. Company won't change. They willingly know what is wrong with their shows, and they'll turn the other cheek and do the same exact thing next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and every pay-per-view to follow Clash of Champions for the rest of the year. How sad. So, we get Styles going into the ring. He picks up the contract. He tells Michael Cole to shut up or he'll kick his teeth down his throat, which was probably the best part of this entire segment. And he looked at the contract, he ripped it up, and threw it in the air as if he was having a birthday bash. So then Braun knocked over the table, and he and Seth cleared the ring, and impromptu tag team match between Strowman and Rollins against the OC. Did you care? Did you care about anything that was said here? The answer is no. Did you care about the tag team match that followed? No. I don't know why Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins, A, are tag team champions, and B, in a match with the OC again. The OC got themselves disqualified, and I heard Michael last week in that tag team turmoil match, and all I heard Michael Cole say in this tag team match was, well, if they beat the tag team champions, that would put them in line for another shot. They just got eliminated from a tag team turmoil match where they got themselves disqualified in the match against the War Raiders, and here they are vying for another opportunity to beat the champs to get another title shot? Does anything make sense on this show? Why weren't they in a match with the fucking War Raiders? That's what I want to know. You built that shit up from last week. Why didn't you continue that this week? I didn't need to see Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman in a match with the OC because you knew how it was going to end. They don't have a pay-per-view match. These guys are plastered all over the posters. They're not going to lose. Yeah, let's make the OC look like a bunch of losers again. For absolutely no reason. Everything that they accomplished here could have been accomplished without the match. And you could have put a legit team against another legit team instead of putting these guys in a match to merely accelerate some miscommunication between Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins. WWE, I understand where they were going with this, but man, this could have been done 1,000 times better. And you could have made the overall show of Monday Night Raw feel a little bit more important, and it would have had a sense of continuity. What happened with that tag team turmoil match should have happened and been building this week. The War Raiders go on social media, they go on YouTube, they go on WWE's website, and they make threats to every team on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and they're in a fucking jobber match again. Same thing with the OC. They got disqualified. Why are they vying for another opportunity when they had an opportunity last week in which they just threw away as if it meant nothing? Because if it did, they would have adhered to the referee's cautions and the referee's words, and they would have had a normal tag team match. I don't see any continuity. I see stupidity. Yet I'm the one who complains. Come on, man. I'm no creative writer in this company, but I know when I see something stupid, you guys were played for fools. Not only did they mock you, they gave you a bunch of illogical garbage to follow. Seth and Braun win in 12 minutes. Styles, Anderson, and of course they did. Because fuck the OC. Styles, Anderson, and Gallows attacked Seth and Braun after the match. Seth and Braun fought back. Seth bulldozed Anderson and Gallows at ringside. And actually, I'm sorry. It was Braun Strowman. Ran through him like a fucking bulldozer. Like a freight train. Knocked over Seth. And he inadvertently knocked over Rollins. He knocked him into the barricade. Out comes Ziggler and Bobby Roode, everybody's least new favorite tag team. And Styles jumped Braun from behind. This became a 5-on-1. Seth tried to get back into the ring. He super kicked Ziggler, but it was too much. The numbers game were too much. And they hit a massive magic killer on Braun Strowman. And AJ Styles finished it with a phenomenal forearm where all of them held up Braun. And that was it. Phenomenal forearm delivered. And that was the way the segment went off on Monday Night Raw to open. So, a couple of things here. One, it took all 5 of these guys to handle these 2 guys. Really. So, you got Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins. And 5 men. It took 5 men. This amount of struggle for these 2 guys. These guys should have been wiped clean. They should have wiped the fucking floor with these guys. Number 2, I appreciate WWE's efforts to try and build community. Here's a dose of positivity. Oh my goodness. I appreciate WWE's efforts in trying to build some miscommunication so that there is something there for the tag team match that will ultimately lead to these guys to get to the main event and have some back and forth, some turmoil between the two. I appreciate the way WWE had Braun run over Seth in that miscommunication spot. It looked good. Out comes Ziggler and Roode. They picked their spots nicely. They knew that something was going on, that Braun had fucked up. And like a vulture, both of them, they came out and tried to pick the bones. I appreciate that. But all of this could have legitimately happened without this tag team match. Because all you did was give the OC another loss. And they should not be losing as much as they are right now. And the OC shouldn't even be in the ring with these guys. They need to get to the back of the line. Because by wins and losses, if they meant something on this fucking show, the War Raiders should be getting a tag team title match and not the OC. Yet the OC are in this match getting another opportunity at the tag team champions. And every other team on Monday Night Raw are just sitting and catering. What you should have did is taken the issue from the tag team turmoil match and put it on Raw to build up some other teams, legitimate teams that aren't makeshift teams on Monday Night Raw. Come on. I'm going to call you out for every ounce of stupidity, and this was completely illogical. Could have done this. They could have did this completely better and way different to a point where we didn't get the tag team match, and you could have got the same result. Could have got the same result in the end. So after the break, they showed a Twitter post from Stone Cold Steve Austin saying the contract signings that WWE has are always chaotic, and Cole is quite an announcer but not a good moderator. So this was WWE's way to get Rollins and Austin in the same segment because somehow, some way, they got to continue sucking the champion's cock. And they announced that Stone Cold Steve Austin will be in Madison Square Garden, and he will be moderating a contract signing, part 2, with Strowman and Rollins. There you go. I should sound more excited, but I'm not. Because I know WWE's reasoning behind this. The only reason why Austin is there, because of failing ticket sales. The only reason why Austin is in this segment is because nobody legitimately gives a shit about this Universal Championship match. And they figure, well, Rollins is our guy. We put so much stock into this. Let's have Steve Austin say some kind words about our champion so everybody hangs on to it. Because if it comes out of Austin's mouth, it's got to be true. Forced garbage. Forced garbage. It's a desperation act because WWE knows that every ounce of Seth Rollins as a babyface has fallen flat on its face, and they can't sell tickets to Monday Night Raw in Madison Square Garden. Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler versus Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. couldn't give them another team to beat. Wow, they deserve a tag team title match because they beat Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. Awesome. They're already in the tag team title match. You didn't need to do anything to tell me that they are a legitimate squad. It's Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler. I know they're good wrestlers. They won a fucking tag team turmoil match. They beat how many teams last week? You had to show me again? Complete irrelevance in this match. They beat nobodies. You proved the point that they were tag team champions or tag team championship material, number one contenders last week, and here they are beating a nobody team in a wasted segment. And again, I ask, why couldn't you do the OC versus the War Raiders? At least at that point, if you did that, the OC losing would make a little bit more sense than to lose to the tag team champions again. Roode and Ziggler win in 4 minutes. What did you expect? Now, Lacey Evans is on Monday Night Raw. She's wrestling on her own show, legitimately, because she was on SmackDown last week. I complained, and now she's on Raw, because we want to see more Lacey Evans. Lacey made her way to the ring in this match with Natalya. Natalya's music interrupted before Lacey even hit the ring. She charged out and attacked Lacey before the bell, and that was pretty much the way the match got started. Natalya's back to being a babyface, by the way, because WWE built her up simply because the SummerSlam event was in Canada, and they figured, well, SummerSlam is in Canada, let's do Natty as the number one contender. And that went nowhere. She was portrayed as a heel against Becky Lynch, and now here she is back to being babyface. Now you wonder why people don't care about Natalya, because we don't know what the fuck she is. We don't know if we should cheer, if we should boo. We don't know. So she's in this match with Lacey Evans. Nobody gives a shit. Lacey Evans wins in 6 minutes. She does have a nice moonsault. You want one positive here? Lacey Evans, though she looks like she's going to slip off the top rope every time, has a pretty decent looking moonsault. Much better than Charlotte. So she has a decent looking moonsault. So Natalya went after Lacey aggressively towards the end of this thing, and ref pulled her off the ropes. I think Lacey was being choked out on the ropes by Natalya. Lacey then KO'd Natalya with the women's rights after throwing a handkerchief at her. Dumb babyface syndrome. Natalya gets distracted by a fucking handkerchief, and she loses due to a woman's right. And then Corey Graves had the balls to compare the women's right to a Mike Tyson knockout punch. Really? Really? I understand that you want to make this one look good and impactful. But please, you come off like a blithering idiot when you say shit like that. Here we go, man. The start of hour 2. And one of the things that I really want to focus on here is Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. Becky Lynch came to Baltimore. She got a great reaction. She wasn't on the show last week. Becky said it's great to be back in Baltimore. She has something to say live on Raw because she wasn't live on Raw last week. She was in Hawaii with her fiancé, Seth Rollins. She said she heard what Sasha had to say last week, mumbling all your excuses, why you ran away after WrestleMania. Becky Lynch said that Sasha was full of shit. She said of all people, she has no reason to be whining. She said Sasha Banks has no reason to be whining. She said Sasha was the centerpiece of NXT, while Becky, she said about herself, was a sidekick to Sasha Banks. She said after being called up, Sasha was given main events of Raw and pay-per-views, while Becky, she said about herself, was struggling to get on TV. This company actually gave you bouquets of flowers after your matches, she said. I like those little nuances. I like those little details that Becky was throwing in her promo, because all of that stuff is true. Sasha was given bouquets after her matches. Sasha was treated as the queen or one of the centerpieces of the women's division. And Becky was struggling to get on TV. There was a long period of time where Becky Lynch was looked at like we look at Natalya right now on Monday Night Raw. Becky said she, Sasha, and Charlotte started around the same time, and Sasha and Charlotte were paraded around from the start like the frauds you are. She called Sasha a delusional little weirdo. Becky said it must sting Sasha that Bayley's doing just fine since she left, while Becky is the face of the company. She said Sasha wants to be her. That's why she called her out again and again, so she can remember how badly she treated her when she was nothing. She told her to do it face to face. She then called her a little blue-haired freak. And then all of a sudden, Sasha Banks comes out, walks out to the stage, and the outfit that she was wearing gets 2 thumbs up in my book. Might have been the best part of the entire segment. Mikaze is a lucky SOB. Sasha said that she was supposed to be her. Yes, I was supposed to be you. I was supposed to be you. Yeah, legitimately. Sasha should be where Becky is. Sasha should have been where Becky is right now for the entirety of the 4 years she's been on the main roster. She said that she was supposed to main event WrestleMania, be on all the magazine covers, be a Hall of Famer, and have all the money. There you go about the money. All heels got to throw that money aspect at the baby faces. I love it. She said the only reason she got any of that stuff is because Nia Jax broke her face. And that is 100% fact. Becky Lynch and the man would not have been a thing if Nia Jax did not break Becky Lynch's nose. And I always wonder what would happen, or what would have happened, if Nia Jax didn't inadvertently break Becky Lynch's face. Imagine if we got Becky versus Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series and did not wait all those months to get the match at WrestleMania. It's truly amazing to think about what would have happened. Would Becky have still been as over as she is now? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Legitimately, nobody knows. You know? WWE had a blessing happen to them with that incident where she broke her nose. And Sasha, using that against Becky Lynch is a dirty, downright fucking, dick move for a heel. Because it's true. Because it's true. Everybody knows that. Everybody holds that moment near and dear to their heart. That's the moment that made Becky Lynch. Coupled on top of the fact that WWE, wanted to push Charlotte as the babyface and Becky is the heel. And that blew up right in their face. That was just everything just speaking to WWE. Listen, you fucked up. I know you're going to try and fight what the fans are doing, but when that moment happened, that was fate. It was fate. It was God telling WWE, listen, just go with it. Becky is not meant to be a heel. And that's how it happened. So for Sasha to use that, I loved it. Yes, Sasha should have main evented WrestleMania. I believe that as well. And she should be on all the magazine covers. She should be hanging out with all the Hall of Famers. She will be a Hall of Famer. And she should have all the money. And she said the only reason she got any of that stuff is because Nia Jax broke her face. She said she wished Nia Jax broke her face too, so fans would care about her. She asked Becky if that felt personal because she can keep going. Becky said if she wants to fight, let's fight right here in front of all these people in Baltimore. And Sasha, with a heel tactic, said, I'm not going to do anything for free in front of these people. Classic heel 101. But I'm not sure how well that worked. She said the next time they wrestle, it will be a Clash of Champions for the Raw Women's title. Becky said she lives for big occasions, so the man versus the boss is on. All you had to do was ask, you got it. Sasha said after Clash, the man is going to be the boss's bitch. And that's the way the segment went off on the start of hour 2. I said it on social media. Sasha Banks looks fantastic in this heel role. Outside of last week where I felt Sasha was held back and given the ball and chain treatment by WWE management. I lobbied for Sasha to go out there and completely shit on everybody. Just tell them exactly what happened. Tell them why she went home. Bury the tag team championships. Bury the Iconics. Bury the women's division. Bury everybody. You give that woman a live microphone with absolutely no script, that would have been a moment that I would have loved. CM Punk, pipe bomb-esque. I understood why WWE was not going to allow Sasha Banks to do that, because if she did that, it would come off in a cool heel aspect. It would be a cool heel factor. And knowing anything that I know about Sasha Banks, just from what I hear from people who know her and her mentality and how she is and how she loves the business, how she loves this sport and wants to be the very best in the industry at what she does, Sasha wanted one thing to come out of that promo last week. She wanted legitimately everybody to hate her. Hate her as a heel. So I understand why they didn't do what I had proposed last week on Raw. The thing is, Sasha came off this week much better than she did last week. She hit all the high notes, her demeanor, her body language, her facial expressions. The boss is here. It's not the boss that we've seen in NXT, but it's a Sasha Banks. It's a boss character that we've wanted to see since day one on the main roster. The thing is with Sasha Banks, and I mentioned this last week, it might be too little too late for Sasha Banks to kind of venture off into that heel territory. This woman has been on the main roster for 4 years, and I documented everything that WWE has done wrong with Sasha Banks. And the fans don't forget. WWE thinks the fans are stupid. The fans don't forget. This woman has had 4 title runs, and none of which lasted more than 7 days. She held the Women's Championship 4 times, and it was 4 times with a combined 30 days. That's not how you treat Sasha Banks at all. WWE then gave her match after match, week after week with the Riot Squad, and she was in the middle of nothing. The middle of nothing. Sasha would go on Twitter and complain. There would be cryptic shit here, cryptic shit on Instagram, cryptic shit on Twitter. She has a mouth like I do. She doesn't stand for the bullshit. She knows when something is not right. The first thing that you got to do is project. Sometimes it doesn't work out. In this case, you're working for the WWE. They see that negativity. They see you complain. They're going to take it out on you. And the only way that they get off on, by burying you on TV and keeping you held down. WWE didn't want Sasha Banks to be the best of all time, because they have other agendas. And those agendas lied with Charlotte Flair. Those agendas lied with Alexa Bliss, who doesn't deserve anything in my eyes. But Sasha Banks was mistreated and misused for 4 years. If you don't think over the last 4 years that people don't remember that, WWE is fucking stupid. And now Sasha Banks is trying her hardest for people to hate her. And with that last line, it kind of smacked me in the face. The man is going to be the boss's bitch. I don't think anybody wants to boo Sasha Banks. There's no reason for us to boo Sasha Banks, because we look at Sasha Banks the same way that we seen Becky Lynch. When Becky Lynch snapped on Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam last year, that was 2.5 years of people saying, finally, the inner beast in Becky Lynch has been unleashed. This is the Becky Lynch we wanted. We're getting that same feeling with Sasha Banks here. You give any of these people a reason for Sasha Banks to be back on TV in the manner that she's acting right now, people are going to want to cheer her more than they're going to boo her, because they respect Sasha Banks. There's no reason for us to hate Sasha Banks. She is one of the best in the business to do what she does. And she's been held down for 4 years. If you mix that up in the blender and push the fucking button and you're seeing that shit go, it's only a recipe for people to want to cheer you more. This woman is too good. This woman's been held back. People want to cheer her no matter what she's doing to get these people to boo her, they will not boo her because of those reasons alone. Funny thing is, you look at Tommaso Ciampa when he was doing his shit with Johnny Gargano in NXT. Did any of you boo Tommaso Ciampa? No. I sat here praising that man's work every step of the way, and I'm the biggest Johnny Gargano mark that there could possibly be in the community. Same thing with Ciampa. Seth Rollins, no way should be PWI top 500 wrestler of the year. Not after what those guys did. No way. I didn't see one person boo, legitimately, Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa was so good in his role that people ended up respecting him. They respected him more than they wanted to legitimately boo him. Yes, the boos that he got on TV were organic. They did. He did his job. He went into the crowd and he ripped up Johnny Gargano signs. He shit all over his best friend. Yeah, I understand that. But at the end of the day, people didn't legitimately hate him. You know, they booed him because he was ripping up a few signs and he was shitting on his best friend, but they didn't boo him legitimately. At the end of the day, they respected him. You could just look at when Johnny won the fucking title. Gargano won the title from Adam Cole, and Tommaso Ciampa was still a heel when he gave it up. All that he did, he showed up at TakeOver New York to hug his best friend. All of that respect was right underneath that heel persona. Everybody fucking flipped out when Ciampa tweeted. Wasn't following anybody. He was just playing up his character, and we loved him for it. Same thing is happening here with Sasha Banks. It's two completely different scenarios, but the respect underneath these heel personas is there. WWE doesn't have any legitimate heels. They don't. They think by throwing a dead family member or a relative of the Hart family, you speak down on Jim the Anvil Neidhart, it's going to be a big heel move. People get their fucking shit off on that garbage. People enjoy that shit. And here she is throwing, the man's bitch. The man is going to be the boss's bitch. That's not going to get Sasha Banks booed. It's not. And it was even more of exactly what I'm talking about at the end of the show. Because it goes right back to Bayley. Goes right back to Bayley. But I'll talk about that when we get to the end of the show. But there's so much respect. What I'm trying to say is there's so much respect for Sasha Banks that there's no possible way that you're going to come to the arena and legitimately boo Sasha Banks. You're not. You're not. A dumb casual might, because they don't know any better. But the majority of the people know that Sasha Banks has been mistreated for 4 years. Why would you boo her? There's no reason to boo her. Sasha Banks hasn't said anything that, constitute me shitting on her. She comes off telling the truth, and the truth to a WWE audience, especially if you're a heel, is cool. It's cool. I don't get it. It's just a weird situation. It really is just a weird situation. I loved it. Sasha came off great. The one negative thing I will say about this entire situation is that Sasha and Becky and this match for the Raw Women's Championship happening way too soon. Way too soon. This is a WrestleMania match that should legitimately be one of the marquee matches in Tampa for WrestleMania 36. The fact that this match is happening, listen, I'm not going to complain because the match itself should be great and it's going to make the overall show in 2 weeks, Clash of Champions, a lot better. But I got to ask, because I said the same thing about Johnny. Said the same thing about Johnny getting his last title match against Adam Cole. And I'm going to say it with Sasha. Though I love both of them, what did Sasha Banks do to get a championship match here at Clash of Champions? Goes right back to what AJ Styles said. She looked at the title, championship match made. She didn't do anything. Natalya lost to Becky. Sasha beat Natalya. And I'm supposed to believe that Sasha's getting a title match. The only reason why Sasha Banks is legitimately getting a title match against Becky Lynch is because there is no other title match that WWE could give us at Clash of Champions. So that's on WWE. That's not on Sasha. That's not on Becky. That's just WWE's inability to create a captivating women's division. They have nobody else built up, and they ran through legitimately everybody to a point where this is the only thing left for them to do. And how long is this going to last? Who's next? And is Becky even going to be the champion coming out of Clash of Champions? You don't bring Sasha Banks back after 4 months, do her dirty, bring her back, and then have her lose. Sasha doesn't become the champion at Clash of Champions. I don't know. I don't know. There's no other outcome here. Sasha is going to be the new Raw Women's Champion, and it might do Becky some good. It might do Becky some good to chase instead of be the champion. And who knows? Everything that I mentioned about Sasha Banks being a heel and being respected and being cheered, even though she's trying desperately to get these people to boo her, yet they won't. Maybe being the champion and shitting on Becky Lynch, who's in a chasing role, might actually work out better for her, and they might get the result that she wants. We'll have to wait and see. I thought this was awesome. Sasha was correct in everything she said, and there's no reason not to believe that, everything she said and stated about Becky Lynch. So I just want to make sure you guys understand that as well. Moving on here, man. We had the Street Profits without their NXT Tag Team titles just pretty much tell you that when they're going to commercial, 3, 2, 1, go to commercial. And that was the only time they were on the show. They stood there, which ultimately became a GIF on Twitter for the evening, because that's all this segment was. It was GIF-worthy. It was meme-worthy. And that was the only time that they were on the show. Now, either they listened to the overwhelming people who are disgusted by their usage on their show, or they just didn't have any funny material written for them on this evening. I don't know. Hopefully this means that they're going to be integrated into the tag team division and maybe given some spotlight to shine because they are a great tag team. Cedric Alexander versus Baron Corbin. This match told a great story because what had happened to Cedric, I failed to mention before, but being that I'm seeing it in my notes, I have to go over it. I guess it works out in the end. Cedric Alexander was conducting an interview with Charlie Caruso. She asked him about the King of the Ring tournament. You got Baron Corbin tonight. How are you mentally preparing for this quarterfinal match? I don't know where AJ Styles and the OC come out and, just for no reason, attack Cedric Alexander, throw him into a production crate, which looked brutal. He sold the injury on the arm, and that was pretty much it. At that moment, I tweeted out immediately, it looks like Baron Corbin is going to advance due to the situation here with Cedric Alexander. And if that is the case, what is Cedric going to do after he loses this King of the Ring quarterfinal match? Seems like WWE set him up for a United States Championship match against AJ Styles, because as of right now, AJ has no opponent for the United States Championship at Clash of Champions, which I'll touch on in a second. Cedric Alexander went into this match, taped arm and taped wrist. That was the issue here against Baron Corbin. 14 minutes. This match was awesome. Baron Corbin, awesome. Same sentence? Yeah. Now, a lot of this has to do with Cedric Alexander. And I told my best friend Pete, who texted me, he said that was a great match. I'm like, I know, but a lot of that came from Cedric Alexander. When you take a somewhat decent wrestler in Baron Corbin, I wouldn't say he's great or even good. He gets the job done. He's not terrible. When you put a guy like Baron Corbin in the ring with Cedric Alexander, who's a great wrestler, more times than not, the great wrestler is going to make someone like Baron Corbin look better than he really is. But Baron Corbin looked great here. Yes, a lot of that had to do with Cedric, but it was also the pacing of the match. This is what I complained about with Baron Corbin so many times before he cut his hair, when he had the long hair and he was the lone wolf. He always worked a slower, methodical style. Why? You're in the ring with Austin Aries. I remember when he was in the ring at TakeOver with Austin Aries. You're slowing a match down with Austin Aries. Why? Or anyone like Austin Aries. Why are you slowing the match down when I know for a fact you could keep up with that type of pace? Guy played football. You mean to tell me his cardio game must be fucking terrible if he can't keep up? But if he works the pace that he did tonight against Cedric Alexander, then Baron Corbin's matches might not be that bad after all. But this was a great match. And it goes along with what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. The King of the Ring matches have been great, outside of one with Cedric and Sammy and Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, which all four of those guys could fucking tear a house down if they wanted to, and they were given 3 minutes, individually. Each match was awful. But the King of the Ring matches have been so great, and this tournament has been somewhat surprising that I'm actually enjoying it. And I might take that back in a little bit. But this was awesome. Baron Corbin wins in 14 minutes. It was the arm. AJ injured the arm. They told the story last week in his match with Cesaro that Cedric Alexander might be banged up. And that's exactly what happened here. So Baron Corbin wins here with a beautiful end of days. And Cedric Alexander still looks strong in the end because of the attack from AJ Styles in the OC. Now, Baron Corbin advances to the semifinals, which a lot of people predicted. WWE has this weird infatuation with Baron Corbin, but what does this mean for Cedric Alexander? I don't really understand it. And if WWE really wanted this tournament to be as great as we all know it could, then Cedric should have been the one to advance here. Corbin doesn't need to advance. And quite frankly, I don't know why Corbin did advance or why they penciled him in to advance. Cedric Alexander advancing is going to make the overall rest of the tournament that much better. I can't say the same about Baron Corbin. I really can't. So you took a Cedric Alexander away from the tournaments in a situation where we could have got Cedric versus Ricochet, or even in the finals, Cedric versus Ali, or Cedric versus Andrade. Any one of those matches would have been barn burners. And you took the one guy in this tournament that is willingly going to and knowingly going to enhance everybody in this tournament and enhance the overall tournament of the King of the Ring, and you eliminated him, which I don't understand. But then we see the situation with AJ. A lot of people were like, well, I don't mind if Baron Corbin advances. Well, you're not thinking at that point. Because two things here. AJ doesn't have an opponent. AJ doesn't have an opponent for the United States Championship or Clash of Champions. So you got to look at the attack on Cedric Alexander in this way. That's how you build a United States Championship match. So now we're 2 weeks out from Clash of Champions. Next week, if they want to continue AJ and Cedric, you got 1 week. You're building a U.S. title match, which is your second biggest title on this program, in 1 week. Okay? That's what you're getting with Baron Corbin advancing. You like that? Or do you like mediocrity? Most of you enjoy mediocrity. The other thing is, Cedric just lost to Baron Corbin in the King of the Ring tournament. He lost to Baron Corbin. How does that constitute in any way for him getting a United States Championship match at Clash of Champions? You lose? You're not supposed to get a title match. I don't understand that. People on social media do not think. They type because they want to try and one-up me. Dead. You have absolutely no comeback from that tweet. Cedric losing is not the right decision. That's just my personal opinion. But King Corbin does have a nice ring to it. Baron Corbin gave you probably what I think is his best match to date. He looked great. Cedric looked great. Can't complain. It's only the WWE and their shitty booking that I'm complaining about. But overall, the match was really good. Moving on here, man. They showed a various firsts list of the 24/7 championship. You know, there's something that they left off. WWE exiling a 24/7 championship would be the first time ever they actually did something that made fucking sense. I don't give a shit who held the championship. I really don't. And the championship was in no way featured on this show. God is hearing my prayers. They are listening to me. The 24/7 title was nowhere on this show. That makes the show just a little bit better. Charlie Caruso interviewed Bayley and asked Bayley if she had any comment about Sasha's shocking return. Bayley said nothing. Caruso asked what it meant to hear Sasha say their tag team title reign meant nothing to her. Oh my goodness, I wonder where you heard that one from. Said that same exact thing last week when I brought to everybody's attention that Bayley is on Monday Night Raw. For what reason? Against Nikki Cross. And you're going to have Bayley on Monday Night Raw. A, not mention the wild card. And on the same brand as her best friend. And not mention anything about them. You mean to tell me that Bayley sharing the same locker room with Sasha Banks and nothing came of that? This woman was out for 4 months. You walked away from me. We lost the tag team championships and you walked away from me. Nothing was said last week. They brought it up this week. Where'd you hear from? I know. So Bayley says she talks to Sasha because she's her best friend. And she won't share what they said because it's personal. She said everyone handles things differently and it was her choice to take her ball and go home. Oh, she went home and she enjoyed every minute of it. Bayley said she took advantage of every situation she was handed on SmackDown, and she told Charlie to ask her about tonight's match. She said the spotlight will be on Becky, as many people are calling her the embodiment of the women's division. I imagine you might be feeling a bit overshadowed by the man, says Charlie. Bayley jumped in and says she doesn't agree with that. She said her title means as much as Becky's. There you go. A little fire from Bayley right there. I like Charlie's question, though. Charlie asking the tough questions. So, after that, she said she does whatever she needs to win. She said she beat Nikki last week, and she'll beat her and Bliss this week with Becky as her tag team partner. She said by the end of the night, it'll be apparent who is standing in whose shadow. Little did we know that was a foreshadowing of what was to come. Viking Raiders. I guess I should just call them by their names because I figured that every time I mention Hanson and Rowe and the War Raiders is a little old. We'll call them we'll call them by their WWE slave name, the Viking Raiders. Eric and Ivar. They had a match against Brian Thomas and Tyler Hastings. Charlie was in the ring with these two guys. I don't know why. The only reason that I could come up with is because these guys shit on Baltimore. And they need some type of reaction from the crowd on the Viking Raiders. See, it's very difficult for me to call them the Viking Raiders. These guys shit on Baltimore, these two bums, these two jobbers. So if they shit on Baltimore, then the Viking Raiders would beat these guys up and maybe get some ovation or some reaction from the crowd. That's the only reason I could possibly come up with here. Don't know why they gave these two microphones outside of that possible reason. They predicted they'll make the Viking Raiders look like a couple of Baltimoreans. Now, I think that goes for everybody that is a fan of the Baltimore Orioles. There you go. Or maybe the Ravens. I know a few people personally that are fans of the Ravens. So not the Ravens, more so the Orioles. Graves said about one of the jobbers, he says this, and I quote, "Now we know what Elvis looked like when he kneeled over on the toilet." Gotta love Graves sometimes, man. You gotta love Graves. Cole said he looks more like the honky-tonk man's son. There you go. Viking Raiders win here with Thor's hammer. 1, 2, 3, and that was it. 1 minute. That's what the Viking Raiders get. Man, they are probably begging. Like Cesaro begged to be on NXT TakeOver UK. I guarantee you these guys are begging Triple H to be back on NXT. Samoa Joe. Good old Samoa Joe. Is he a heel? Still. Ricochet. King of the Ring quarterfinal match. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is. Ricochet, yes, he had a great match with Drew. I know. His match with Joe wasn't that bad either when he won the United States Championship. But I will say this. Has Ricochet, even with Styles, which is a fucking downright inexcusable shame, that match should have rivaled anything that we've seen on TakeOver. That match should have been TakeOver worthy, that feud, and it was not. Ricochet has been absolutely just boring, is the only word I could use on the main roster. Nothing about his main roster run as of this moment is memorable, and that's not even his fault. That is not even his fault. There's nothing about Ricochet's run right now that is memorable in any which way. I don't know why. Because the guy in NXT absolutely teared the house down with Adam Cole, Velveteen Dream, Johnny Gargano, Aleister Black, and the War Raiders. Fucking tag team title match to open TakeOver New York, man. Fucking classic. Nothing on the main roster that Ricochet has been a part of has even come close to anything that he's done in NXT. Why? I don't get it. And I mentioned this when Chris Van Vliet sat me down. He mentioned, who are my favorites on the WWE roster. Aleister Black, Johnny, Tommaso Ciampa, Ricochet, Andrade. And he laughed. He's like, they're all NXT guys. I'm like, I know. But I told him flat out, I'm like, I'm not even impressed by Ricochet anymore. There's just something about him on the main roster that just, it doesn't speak to me like it spoke to me in NXT. Why? There's just this sameness with him. And every time I watch Ricochet in the ring, outside of the Drew McIntyre match, it's the same match. Let's cut Ricochet's legs in half. Let's take that aerial offense away. And it's like slow and methodical. And it's just boring. And it happened here with Samoa Joe. This match went 14 minutes. Now, it did start to pick up towards the end. It really did. And I started to get into it a little bit more. But I would say the first 10 minutes of this thing were just, oh my God, where's my phone? I'm on Twitter more than I'm watching this match for a King of the Ring quarterfinal match with Ricochet. This one goes to a double pin. So Ricochet kicked Joe, and then Joe rolled to the floor. Ricochet then did his signature handspring dive over the top rope onto Joe. He threw Joe back in the ring. Ricochet climbed to the top rope. Joe got up, knocked Ricochet off balance. He then chopped Ricochet in the chest. If you want to go watch Walter versus Tyler Bate, you want to see a fucking chop? Oh my goodness, man. Legitimate bleeding down Tyler Bate's chest. That's how brutal Walter was to Tyler Bate in that match. Unbelievable match. Probably the best match of the entire wrestling weekend, in my honest opinion. He chopped his chest. He then applied the coquina clutch off the top rope. Pulled Ricochet off the top rope. Ricochet pushed off. Both dropped and had their arms draped over one another when they came off the top rope. And the referee seen the pin. 1, 2, 3. Joe's arm was on Ricochet. Ricochet's arm was on Joe. It was a double pin situation. Now, after this, the referee went over to the timekeeper's area and was talking to God knows who, probably Vince McMahon. And he had the headset on, and he was portrayed like an MLB umpire or a referee on the field for an NFL game where they're reviewing the play. Now, I don't know how you guys felt about this, but in the right situation, I don't mind this. It brings a real sports-like feel. I wish they would do more shit like this and present more stuff like this in the future. I didn't mind this part. I thought that was great. Coupled with that new camera angle that they did, I think about 2 or 3 times during the show where it kind of spanned the arena up top. I thought that was awesome. It reminded me of the report that I read where WWE was testing out new cameras for SmackDown Live. Because we're only a month away from SmackDown on Fox. So that might be some of the new technology, some of the new camera work that they're working on for the Fox debut. But the referee got on the headset, and I thought this was awesome. Now, what I didn't think was awesome was John Cone, conveniently, was the referee in this match. I don't understand the logic here. He was in position to physically see that this was a double pin. He was there. He had gloves on. Joe was bleeding. He was right there. There was no distraction. There was no wrong positioning with where he was standing. He was right there. And he knew something was wrong. And he still counted the 3 anyway. He still counted the 3 anyway, knowing that he should have not counted and something was wrong. So that made John Cone look like a blithering idiot in that situation. And on top of that, WWE had to convolute one of the most simplest concepts in the sport. A fucking tournament where one person needs to win and one person needs to lose. Now, I don't know why all of a sudden they care so much about booking Samoa Joe in a strong manner. Because for the last 3 years, the guy's been booked like dog shit. Now, in the King of the Ring tournament, you want to make him look strong. I'm assuming this has some Paul Heyman influence behind it. No, we got to make Samoa Joe look strong because Samoa Joe is a Paul Heyman guy. And I think Samoa Joe should have been treated much better over the last 3 years than he has been presented anyway in WWE. And if he was, we wouldn't be looking at this situation. But as of this moment, as soon as the referee went over to the timekeeper's area and did the MLB, instant replay review, it was Baron Corbin in the finals. Because he had no semifinals to compete in after beating Cedric Alexander. He advanced to the finals. So at this moment, everybody was like, oh my God, Baron Corbin is in the finals of the King of the Ring tournament, which would not be a surprise to anybody because as soon as this tournament was developing, everybody was like, King Corbin's going to happen. King Corbin's going to be a reality. And that's exactly what we got at the end of this match. Ricochet was like, oh my God. Samoa Joe was like, oh my God. They're pushing each other out of the way, trying to get a word in with the referee. We'll find out a little bit later in the show. It's the fucking King of the Ring tournament. You better go back there and find out an official decision on this very important match. Yeah, we'll wait. You fucking kidding me? Come on, man. That should be the most important thing on this entire program. Who advanced in this match to the semifinals of the King of the Ring tournament? So, clearly Joe was pissed off. He attacked Ricochet in the aisleway after all of this was going down. So, I'll come to it in a second, but before that, we got Braun Strowman in a segment with Seth Rollins. He said next week Austin is moderating their signing. Seth said that's probably the best thing to come out of tonight. Braun said he didn't like his Skype conversation with him, praising everything about, oh, really, Braun? Neither did anybody else. Expect that more next week, where Austin is sucking fucking Seth Rollins' cock live on Monday Night Raw from New York City. Now, Seth asks Braun if he thinks he's being set up by him and Austin. We get jumped by 5 dudes tonight, and that's what's on your mind? Come on, man. He said people expect them to turn on each other to get an advantage in the singles match, but Seth told Braun he's been through that before. He said he's all for Austin moderating the signing. Braun said if he gets in his face, then Austin will get these hands. Who gives a shit? We know why it's happening. You guys know why. Firefly Funhouse. This was showcased on Twitter that there would be a new Firefly Funhouse. Bray is there, dressed as Mr. Rogers like Bray Wyatt. And he talked about Finn Balor. He told Finn Balor that what the Fiend did to him at SummerSlam was super, super rude. What Vince McMahon does to his fans of the WWE is super, super rude. Every single week. Never mind at SummerSlam. He said on behalf of everyone in the Funhouse, he's sorry. Then the Vince McMahon puppet showed up, and Vince said, how dare you challenge Seth Rollins or Braun Strowman to a match at Hell in a Cell? Do you know how valuable they are to me? So, I'm surprised they brought this up, because there was a back and forth between Strowman and Wyatt on social media. And Bray Wyatt said something about Hell in a Cell, and I'll see you inside Hell in a Cell, blah, blah, blah. I don't know exactly what he said. I can look it up right here because I was actually going to talk about it on an OTS Extra, and the notes were already queued up. So give me a second, let me find it. Bray was going back and forth with fans, and one fan said, this sounds corny. Why is the Fiend out of character? Baby boy. He called Braun Strowman a baby boy. Braun Strowman said something along the lines about the Universal title and Then Bray made a comment about him being the teacher and Braun Strowman being the student. Bray Wyatt said, if the student has to teach the teacher, then so be it. He can get these hands like anybody else. That's what Braun Strowman said. And then Bray Wyatt obviously called him baby boy. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to fucking die if it's inside Hell in a Cell. Blah, blah, blah. I've never lost to Seth. Blah, blah, blah. So, all of this was brought into the storyline now on Monday Night Raw during this Firefly Funhouse. Now, what we got to come out of this in the rest of this was Vince McMahon saying to Bray Wyatt how valuable Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins are. Bray then pulled out a huge wad of $100 bills, waved in front of Vince McMahon's face. The Vince McMahon puppet, by the way, not the actual Vince McMahon. Vince's eyes in the funhouse turned to dollar signs. He fed Vince money, and then the puppet passed out because he was so enthralled that he was fed money. So he said, Seth and Braun might not be a good team, but he's learned to embrace the virtues of teamwork. Then we had Ramblin' Rabbit showed up with a sign saying help. Bray Wyatt shoved him down below. Bray said the Fiend helps him inflict pain. The Fiend showed up. Bray said, see you in hell. He laughed, and then his face turned sinister, and he went back to Mr. Rogers Bray and waved goodbye to everybody inside the Firefly Funhouse. Now, I argued with my buddy Justin LeBar. Not really argued, but he mentioned something about, the Fiend and Seth and Braun, and there's a bunch of variables playing out over the next 5 weeks. There are no variables. Now, we don't know if Bray Wyatt's getting a title shot or not. No, we don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Bray Wyatt's going to definitely get a Universal title match with the winner of Seth versus Braun at Clash of Champions. He might not be getting a title match at all. At all. But after Braun, who Seth should realistically beat, because if you gave him the title at SummerSlam, you're not going to have him lose it to Braun Strowman, who's as cold as ice as far as his run goes. Nobody wants to see Braun Strowman as the Universal Champion. Braun is not a guy that's going to legitimately carry a brand, okay? So Rollins more than likely is going to retain the title by whichever way. He might actually retain the title because of the Fiend. Because of the Fiend. It could go one of two ways. It could be Rollins beating Strowman and then going on to the Fiend inside Hell in a Cell, or it could be Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt at Hell in a Cell, and he gets no title shot, and Seth gets a match with the King of the Ring, which I think should be the case because he just won the fucking tournament. What is he winning? A crown and a scepter? You got to get some sort of title match out of that. They could do that. We don't know if Bray's going to get a world title match. So I might have jumped the gun on that. But if it is a Universal title match with Bray Wyatt, I don't know why you wouldn't be putting him in a Universal Championship match. They have to realize that it might be too soon. They have to realize that if you do Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins, that there is no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no maybes. It's either yes, give him the title, or yes, give him the title. I don't give a shit what is developed over the next 5 weeks between Bray Wyatt and whomever the champion is. There's only one outcome. Bray Wyatt, inside Hell in a Cell, is going to become the WWE Universal Champion. And what does that do? Some people might not like that. Some people might not like Bray Wyatt as the Universal Champion because, A, it's too soon. Some people might enjoy it because Rollins is so fucking terrible as a babyface. And he's not a champion that we expected him to be. Who knows? But if you're putting Bray Wyatt in a championship match, there's absolutely no question that this man is becoming the Universal Champion. And then what does that do? What does that say to everybody watching at home? That means, A, WWE is riding the hot hand, which he made how much money SummerSlam weekend of merchandise revenue? He was the hottest thing coming out of SummerSlam. He's the hottest thing in the company. So just based off that aspect alone, a Universal title match might be warranted in their eyes. I don't know. But what does it do? if Bray Wyatt wins the Universal Championship. That means everything that Seth Rollins did and the story with him overcoming the Beast and him crying and guaranteeing he's going to beat Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam and all those weeks where he looked weak and fucking infantile, right? He looked like a fucking pussy, crying and just acting stupid and making foolish decisions. Everything that you portrayed in that storyline with Brock Lesnar, if Bray Wyatt wins the Universal Championship from Seth Rollins so soon following SummerSlam, what does that mean for everything that you tried to tell us with Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar? It was a complete waste of everybody's time. And Rollins, the story of Rollins is absolutely pointless. It is completely pointless. If they're guaranteeing you a match, if they're telling you right now that Bray Wyatt is going to be involved inside Hell in a Cell with either Rollins or Braun Strowman, they're pretty much giving away the outcome. They're rendering the outcome of Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins pretty much fucking pointless. Because they're telling you without actually telling you that Bray Wyatt's going to be the Universal Champion. Now, like I said, Bray could not be in the World Championship match. He could be just one of those things where he interferes and sets up a match with Braun Strowman. Maybe they gave him Braun Strowman before they gave him Seth Rollins. But clearly Bray Wyatt's being booked for Hell in a Cell. The Fiend has made mention of Hell. See you in Hell. Hell in a Cell. He mentioned Hell in a Cell on Twitter because the Fiend, it's Halloween, it's October, Hell in a Cell, right? So they want to get that Halloween-esque vibe with Bray Wyatt and the Fiend inside the structure in the month of October, which conveniently is the same month that Halloween is its major holiday. So there you go. Just want to make sure you guys know that if there is a Universal Championship match in Bray Wyatt's future, the next 5 weeks mean absolutely nothing because there's only one outcome. And that man should not be anywhere near a loss. And if Bray Wyatt wins, then he's holding the title undefeated all the way till WrestleMania, where he will go against another undefeated individual in Aleister Black. Because that's what I pitched weeks ago. Undefeated Bray Wyatt, undefeated Aleister Black at WrestleMania for the Universal Championship. Yes, I know Aleister Black's a SmackDown guy. But when does that matter to anybody? Why should that matter? Maybe there's a draft. Maybe there's a shakeup. Maybe he ends up on Monday Night Raw. Who knows? But that could be a great situation for that. And a lot of people are saying, well, you're going to have another part-time champion. Why would you have a part-time champion when The Fiend is only going to show up on Monday Night Raw or on pay-per-view, and Bray Wyatt could show up whenever he wants? You don't need to see The Fiend on Monday night. Bray Wyatt has two characters here, himself and The Fiend. You don't need The Fiend to show up every Monday night, because if he did, it would be overexposure and we'd be tired of the gimmick. So they have to be very careful as far as that aspect goes as well. But we'll see what happens. Maybe he's going to be the Universal Champion, maybe not. Maybe he gets a title match at Hell in a Cell, maybe not. Maybe it's just Braun Strowman. It's going to be interesting to find out, but if he's in anything with the championship, inevitability, folks, you're going to get a new Universal Champion either way you look at it. Now, we moved on here to Cesaro and The Miz. This went 8 minutes. Miz wins in 8 minutes with a skull-crushing finale because Cesaro had a barn burner of a match with fucking Dragunov at NXT UK TakeOver in Cardiff. And it's like, you couldn't have anybody else in this situation. It had to be Cesaro. Like, I don't understand WWE in this aspect. Did it have to be Cesaro? Was EC3 not there tonight? Seriously. You couldn't find anybody on SmackDown Live to put in this situation. It had to be Cesaro. I don't get it. Guy has a barn burner match with Dragunov at NXT TakeOver in Cardiff. And it's like WWE punished him for going out there asking to be on NXT because all the fucking guy wants to do is wrestle. Had a great match, comes back to the States, and gets fed to The Miz in 8 minutes. I can't even begin to fucking tell you the differences felt between what we seen on Saturday night and what we seen here on Monday Night Raw. It's like Cesaro wasn't even the same human being. I don't get it. I think Cesaro should absolutely just vouch for being in NXT UK. He could be their fucking world champion. Dominik Dijakovic tweeted tonight during Monday Night Raw, I think Cesaro should be in NXT full-time. I lobbied to get Cesaro back down in NXT. I couldn't really disagree with anything in that tweet. I agree with that tweet 100%. WWE should be ashamed of themselves. Oh, he can't talk. Oh, he doesn't have charisma. How the fuck do you know? He wasn't given an opportunity to show you. God, Sheamus can't. If Sheamus is coming back, Cesaro might be the happiest fucking guy on the roster. Because his singles run is just awful. And what are they doing with The Miz? They're building him up in a match against Nakamura. The reason why he got this win is to make him a credible threat over Nakamura. Again, you couldn't find anybody else in this spot to give him a fucking irrelevant victory. Give me a break. Rey Mysterio, he was interviewed backstage by Charlie Caruso. She asked about his emotional roller coaster lately. Rey said his son Dominic convinced him to dig down deep and keep fighting. Said later that night they had a father-son talk and shared stories. He told him how much it meant to him to grow up inside the WWE family. He said now he's watched his son grow up and become a man. He said he can't thank him enough to remind him and convince him who he is and to continue pursuing his passion. He's not done yet. Cody said at StarCast that he's keeping a keen eye on Rey Mysterio's contract because he'd love to steal him away from WWE. And who knows, Vince might have been given the word by Mysterio, I'm out. I got 18 months in which I could bounce on my contract whenever I want. After that 18 months, he might have given Vince the word that I'm out after WrestleMania. We'll see. I don't know. Main event, folks. Main event. No contest. Clash of Champions match, or Championship Clash, or whatever the fuck they were calling it. Bliss and Bayley. It was Bliss and Cross. I'm sorry. Bliss and Cross versus Bayley and Becky Lynch in the main event of this match. The match was irrelevant. The match was irrelevant until Sasha Banks. I gotta get the fuck out. I'm so tired. Sasha Banks came out and interjected herself in this thing. This is the most important thing in this match. Banks came down and she stood by ringside, and Bliss was in the corner. It was Becky Lynch going after Bliss in the corner. And then Sasha comes out from nowhere. Gets into the ring wearing the same outfit she was wearing before with thick high heels. And she gives Becky Lynch a backstabber from behind. And that was it. Referee called for the bell. Cole said Sasha waited for her moment and then struck. So Sasha then took a steel chair from underneath the ring and continued to hit Becky the same way she did on her first night back, in the back with chair shots. Bayley then entered the ring and took the chair away from Sasha Banks, saying, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. With this concerned look on her face, looking at Sasha Banks as if she doesn't know who Sasha Banks is, or she doesn't know who this version of Sasha Banks is. Sasha's yelling out at Bayley, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then Bayley has the chair. Bayley has the chair in hand. She's looking at Becky. She's looking at Sasha. She's looking at the chair. All of a sudden, you see this smile on Bayley's face, and she starts to hit Becky in the back with the steel chair. Shot after shot after shot. I love the way WWE went off the air with this. They cut to the trademark logo at the bottom of the screen. They wanted you to know the show was over, and the show went off in a very climactic fashion, not anticlimactic, very climactic fashion, where Bayley was just blasting Becky over the back. Sasha was there smiling, and you'll find out why exactly Bayley did what she did next week. I can't even begin to tell you how great of a move this is. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. For one reason and one reason only. Bayley needed it more than Sasha. She did. Bayley was dying 1,000 deaths as a babyface. It really was. And this is an extra ace in the pocket for WWE if their true intentions are to continue pushing Sasha Banks as a heel. Because if Bayley right now has turned heel and she's aligning herself with Sasha Banks, and they're going to be this heel tandem, this is great not only for the women's division, but it's great for both Sasha and Bayley. Now, again, I don't know. Are the fans going to boo Bayley? Because any sign of a cool instance that a heel does, they're going to get cheered. They have to really come out and speak their mind about why they did what they did. They need to be heel through and through, and they need to really get people to legitimately hate them. Because, again, there's no reason why I'm going to hate Bayley for doing what she did, because this was a long time coming. People have wanted this more than Sasha turning heel. Because Bayley is dying as a babyface. This does one thing for all of this. This does one thing better than anything that you could ever imagine. Bayley showing some signs of going over to the dark side. If Bayley is aligned with Sasha, she's going to realize at the end of this that Sasha has been a bad influence. And Bayley has been so dead as a babyface that WWE has the option, after a great story is told, and we get these two to be a heel tandem, and everybody legitimately hates them, that WWE has that ace in the hole, where if Bayley is, again, turning babyface and moving away from Sasha, she's going to be more over than she ever was, and it's going to bring heat back to Sasha, more heat to Sasha, and it's going to build them up in a way that could be what we've wanted all along for these two. Sasha as a legitimate badass heel, and Bayley as the babyface that we've always envisioned her coming up from NXT. So right now, they're both in the same boat. They're both teetering on the dark side. But the story here could eventually play out into Bayley becoming the overwhelming babyface in this thing, better than she ever was. Sasha being the overwhelming heel in this situation, what she always should have been, culminating in a match at WrestleMania. Because Sasha Banks is winning that title at Clash of Champions. Becky Lynch has nothing to do with the championship after this. You're not going to take that belt off Sasha Banks in October or November, December. Because there's nobody else on this roster that legitimately is going to beat Sasha Banks. Nobody. You have that title on Sasha. You bring it all the way till WrestleMania. And Bayley, Sasha, WrestleMania, title. Bayley turns back to a babyface. She gets her revenge on Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks goes into WrestleMania, the heel. We get the match that we always should have gotten on the main roster, culminating at WrestleMania. I think that's going to be awesome. Again, WWE's ace in the pocket with this move. I love it. I thought it was great. And I love the way WWE ended the show with Bayley blasting Becky Lynch over the back with steel chair shots. I'm getting out of here, guys. Thank you so very much. Hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, hit that thumbs up, and I will see you right back here on Tuesday for SmackDown Live, as always, man. Thank you guys so much for all the overwhelming support. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that bell for all notifications. I'm getting out of here. I'll see you guys right back here on Tuesday for SmackDown Live. See you then.